Hey guys, this is Chris from Northern Scales Reptiles. Lately, we've been selling a lot of new pets, and a lot of people have been asking questions about what animals are going to be the best for their kids, or which are going to be the least aggressive, or just like adapt well in captivity. And we kind of intentionally set up our store so that no matter what you get, it'll be pretty easy to deal with a few exceptions. We have a couple things for more advanced keepers, but a majority of things are going to be pretty simple. The biggest way to get around like dealing with a snake, especially a snake, but lizards too, that is a little bit nervous, is to understand how they work. And I wanted to take a couple moments to kind of go over that and then give you an example too of how to handle a snake that's actually pretty aggressive that I have. First, animals don't quite think like how we do. So as far as finding enjoyment and like our like recreational activities and like our thought processes and stuff like that, they don't have any of that as much, and if they do, it's quite different and not something that we would be able to fully understand. But instead, they have two main drives. One of them is to eat, and the other one is to protect themselves. When they eat, a lot of times that can be fairly hardwired into like how they go about doing it. So people tend to find that arboreal snakes that spend a lot of time up in like trees and on branches and stuff might be more aggressive, they say, than a snake that might be more terrestrial, like a ball python or a corn snake or a snake like that. Main reason why actually comes down to eating. A snake that has to eat and take more chances when it comes to eating food and like getting food might think a little bit quicker when it sees something warm coming at it that it might be food. So one way around that, and the easiest way to deal with that, to be completely honest, is to feed your snake in the same consistent way every single time you feed it. When we do that here, we will take a frozen thawed prey item, like a rat or a mouse. We'll have it completely up to a little warmer than room temperature and ready to go. We'll take tongs, 18-inch tongs, and we'll take the prey item in the tongs, open up the enclosure, and immediately present it to the snake. The snake's probably going to take it pretty quickly, within maybe seconds, definitely probably less than a minute. And when it does, we don't watch, we just close it. We'll close the door, we'll close the drawer, we'll walk away from it and completely leave it be. The snake associated us opening up the enclosure, putting a food item in, with eating, and not necessarily us opening up the enclosure and messing around in there first. That consistency definitely helps keep the animal basically informed as to what's going on. The other thing that animals are hardwired to deep down and deeply ingrained in them, and through genetic breeding and everything like that, the ones that are the most, I guess, defensive are going to be the ones that live the longest. So, and that'll depend on what kind of animal and where they live, but as a general rule of thumb, that's true. So an animal will also see us as this gigantic weird monster that's coming at them, and they have no idea why, but they have to protect themselves from us. So when you go into an enclosure and maybe you don't have anything to help you, but you just reach in at that animal, the animal's sometimes going to say like, oh my gosh, this is life or death, I have to do something. Time to get into a defensive posture, maybe hiss, maybe rattle my tail, maybe strike, and try to get this big monster scary thing away from me and not wanting to eat me. So what I do with that is I do the same thing with feeding, and I try to get them used to like a routine. So for this routine, I use a snake hook. But you could use a paper towel roll or literally anything, maybe even a hanger. And when I open up the enclosure, I tap the snake a couple times gently, maybe even rub its back slightly so that it knows that this is different than feeding time. And then I'll use that same tool for the snake hook to lift the snake slightly, and I'll support the snake from the bottom. And I'm going to illustrate that. So this little beauty here is one of my favorite snakes at the store, but I'll be honest with you, not necessarily the most friendly snake at the store. The average person would see what you just saw and say, nah, not happening, that's a nope rope. And I kind of get it, because you don't want to get bitten by a nope rope. And rightfully so. More importantly though, the snake doesn't want us to harm it, and it thinks that it's going to. So I've got my hook here. I use a pretty standard 18-inch plastic handled metal hook. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna gently touch the snake with the hook. Now you can see the snake's still a little bit worried, still thinks that something bad's about to happen to it. So I'm gonna take the little hook part, I'm gonna put it around one of the snake's coils, real gently, and I'm gonna lift the snake up. Okay, this is gonna be a little tricky to show with one hand, but I'm gonna do my best here. And I'm gonna go up underneath the snake. There we go. Now I've got the snake out. The same snake that was quite literally just hissing at me. He's up in my hand, and if I had both of my hands, I wouldn't have the hook there anymore, but I'm here by myself making this video, and at this point, the snake's out. Now, in its mind, it's probably a little bit confused because I wasn't food, I had a hook and I touched it, and I'm obviously not going to hurt it, or I would have already. Things aren't going to take their time with that kind of thing. So it's just now kind of exploring and wondering what's going on. So the best thing that I can do in this situation is just get the snake used to this type of handling and do it fairly frequently. Here she is. So this wasn't any kind of fancy swap out or anything like that. This is definitely the same snake. Very curious. But now it's out of the enclosure, and despite the fact that it was just hissing at us and everything like that, I'm supporting the snake from the bottom. It's kind of holding me in a way, you can see, and not in an aggressive way. This is just how they support themselves when they're going through branches and things like that out in the wild. And it's wandering around, and now if I were coming at it like with my hand like this, that's what a lot of things out in the wild that would eat it would do. And the snake's going to be way more likely to see that and be like, oh my gosh, that's terrifying. But if I'm the snake's branch, there's really no reason why the snake would be genetically wired to bite the thing that's supporting it through the trees. Genetically, that just doesn't make sense. And honestly, from the snake's perspective, it probably doesn't make sense either. So I'm too big to eat. I'm not food. I don't really smell like a rat or a mouse. And the snake's not in any harm, and it can tell that. So if I do this pretty frequently, there's going to be a point where there will be a lot less hissing, if any, and the snake will be completely calm and chill, and it'll be a good to handle snake that you could reliably hand to somebody that might be a little more worried about them or nervous about them, and maybe even yourself. So I hope this helps. You know, we sell snakes a lot. They make great pets. I'm using the snake on purpose because you saw the hissing, you saw the mouth open. I didn't cut out anything as far as the snake trying to bite me or anything. That did not happen. This is just 100% organically how to go about taking a snake out that's a little bit defensive. So again, hope this helps. Have a great day. Call us if you need us.